Drunk Tank Podcast is here at last. Let everyone know it's time for the show.
It's time for the show.
You really knew how to pull weird ones out of just that. That was really that.
I don't pull them, man. People submit them.
I mean, that was. Can you sing?
No, not at all.
Was that you singing?
No. We are getting a late start on the podcast. Oh, I should say we have Kara in here today.
What's up, guys?
I'm Gavin.
Gavin and Joel.
You're Joel, right?
Yes. What were you saying?
That's a good question. I was asking you where the beer was. You usually have like Corona or something in here, and we got nothing.
Yeah. I mean, the thing is, I'm kind of. Some days I actually work.
Oh.
Sometimes you might want to wait till it's PM instead of AM.
I really wish I hadn't worded
No.
it that.
All right.
Yeah, we don't want to have any beer in here this week because then Kara will open it with her teeth again.
That's a good point.
People really latched onto that.
Apparently, I
The
didn't
most
think...
disturbing thing about I wasn't on the podcast. The most disturbing thing about the video is that it's just dead silent. It's just like and there's no like clunk or anything. It just
Doesn't hurt?
slips off.
No, not at all.
Do you have any fillings?
Nope.
Do you
Just
have any?
special
Well,
talents.
maybe that's why.
Yeah, I have fillings.
Uh,
But that's only like
Well,
foil.
you use like the
I don't think-
corner.
I don't think the bottle cap... Ugh.
I don't know. But that's the thing. I can't get past it.
That's
Right?
going to chip your teeth.
Yeah, that
You're
can't.
going to fuck your teeth up.
Well, I haven't yet, so
How long have you been doing
That's
it?
the spirit.
exactly. Don't stop until you get hurt.
Have you ever had a tooth pulled?
In my whole life,
Yes.
yes.
No, in your partial life.
Well, I mean, I thought you meant maybe because of the.
Are you alien? What's happening?
No, there's no kind of special
So you haven't-
teeth
you
arrangement
have
that
had
allow
a
me to
tooth
do
pulled.
that.
Did I tell you that I
Like
have a
tooth
problem?
pulled?
Yes.
I have a
Who
problem with her
hasn't?
name.
Have you ever had a tooth pulled, Joel?
What happened? What did you say, guys?
Oh, wait, what?
I have a problem with her name. I had to rename her to suit my
Who?
because
People can't see when you
The
point.
way-
People can't hear when you point, you fucking idiot. Say it, Kara.
yeah, but the thing is, I like to say Kara. I have to kind of like talk in a funny American accent. Like the way I'd say how it's spelled would be Kara. Which
Okay, well,
that's
then
not
say
your name,
Kara.
really. Well, I don't want it because it doesn't really sound right.
You're becoming self-aware of the way you talk.
So,
is that what you're saying?
so
the
her
way you
name-
talk doesn't sound right.
Well, so for me to say Kara, it sounds like I'm doing an American accent to me, which is annoying. So I renamed her Dave.
I rename you.
I'll go with
asshole.
That's stupid.
There's
So how
not
do you say carry?
Carry?
Like you want to carry something.
Oh, Carrie.
Carry.
Yeah.
How do you say carry the employee?
Carrie, because it's with an E.
Could you say Kara? Like carry with a A at the end
Well,
instead of an
there's
Y?
no E in her name.
Yeah,
Just
but it's
say-
more. It's closer to Kara than
Like, say care. Like, I care
Kara.
about you.
I care about you.
Okay, just drop the bout. Care about.
Yeah, that works. I
Kara.
still prefer Dave. I'm sorry, I still prefer Dave.
What is your deal with renaming things? Didn't you rename your cat?
I renamed my cat.
And don't
I
you-
renamed my sister as well.
Didn't you also want to? Didn't you pay to rename your brother?
I
What?
I renamed my brother, and I wanted to pay for him to legally change his name because I thought it would annoy my parents.
So what is your problem? Why do you have to rename everything?
I just like stuff to suit me. My sister named my cat Lexi, and I thought that sucked, so I just renamed it Lloyd. It's Lloyd the cat now, and everyone calls it Lloyd, and she's really mad about that.
And
But
it's
the
a
cat-
female?
At the end of
No,
the
it's a
day,
female cat called Lloyd.
it's not going to come to no matter what name you use. It's not going to do what you want it to do. So I mean, why does anyone name a cat anyway?
Right.
I mean,
Has there ever been a cat in the history of the world
No.
that responds to its name?
in any
Yes.
way whatsoever? No.
You're not a cat, Kara. You're a person.
I have a cat.
And you respond to Dave, apparently.
No, I do not respond to Dave. I will never respond
She
to
gets
that.
so bad when I call her Dave.
Gavin responds to asshole, though, apparently.
Oh,
So, we'll see.
Gavin responds if you kick him in the asshole, too. I found that out.
yeah.
Yeah. Are you scarred from your trip to Japan?
No, it was a good trip.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, you didn't acquire any weird Japanese diseases or anything like that.
Not that I'm aware of, but you know, sometimes they take a long time to
Do you have any
incubate.
more trips coming up anytime soon, Mr. World Traveler?
I will be attending RVBTO.
Oh, that's...
What is that?
Not this coming weekend, but next weekend. What's
Is
that?
it?
Yeah.
I thought it was in August. Oh,
Yeah,
no.
that is-
Yeah.
Oh, Jesus.
It's like 2 weeks.
This year is going
Gavin
pretty
knows
fast.
time so well.
It's like August 2nd and 3rd, I think.
Is that a fun one? I've never been to it.
Yeah, it's a lot of fun. It's the last RVBTO this year.
Who's going?
I don't know. Some people.
Some people.
People keep asking me who's
Some
going.
people
I don't
plus
know.
me.
I think Bernie's going up there for a little while, and I believe Barbara may be as well. Beyond that, I'm not sure.
Back
Maybe
to her
some
roots.
special guests.
Oh, interesting.
So we all went and did something cool last week. We saw The Dark Knight on Thursday.
Yes.
Thursday night before it came out. What did you guys think of the movie?
Are we spoiling this?
No spoilers.
I thought it was okay. I
Yeah?
didn't think it was good as The Dark Knight, the second one.
I agree with that.
It was good. I liked
Kara
it.
took notes throughout the movie.
I did
I'm
at the
glad you're
beginning.
here actually.
This,
Why did you take notes?
No.
I don't want to see a movie with anyone I know. I don't want to see a movie with anyone ever. I sat next to her in this movie. She was gassing in my ear the entire movie.
No,
like,
I was not.
She wasn't wearing that necklace just now. And then she was like writing it down, and I was just sitting there.
So
like,
she was taking notes during the movie about things
She
she
was-
perceived as
well,
inaccuracies.
Yeah,
You know what's funny is that we went and saw it at the Alamo, and that place normally is like if you go see it, with the public, they put a big thing at the beginning where it's like do not talk, and they're really very serious about it. And we, with another company, actually rented out the theater.
Yeah, so there was no
we
public.
noticed,
It was just
when you do
us.
that, apparently you are allowed to talk, yes, because you rented out the theater. So we never got that warning message, and
Yeah.
so it's like,
Well, we got the no tweeting, no Facebooking, that whole.
No, we didn't
warning
get that.
message.
They just
Oh, I
wanted-
got that message as soon as you walked into the theater.
You did?
He's talking about
Yeah.
something on the screen.
Oh, just kidding.
what message do you think? What are we talking about?
verbal
So we had Kara taking notes, and Kara disappeared at one point during the movie. I
she
walked
just
out to go to the
leaves, like, for
bathroom,
half an hour
and she was
and
like
came
out there
back.
chatting with people in the hallway.
I like to talk. I made new
But you
friends.
couldn't talk.
couldn't-
People
yeah.
were responding to you in the theater, so you went outside to talk to people.
I had to get it out somehow.
We are seeing
Exactly.
one of the most anticipated movies of the entire year, a day before it's coming out, and then you're just like, I'm gonna go chat to some dudes out
That's
in the hall.
not what
cool.
That was not my original plan. No.
And someone else in the theater was texting you.
Yeah.
Someone else, another one of our employees was texting you what they thought about the movie in real time
No,
as you're watching the fucking movie.
I will never get my phone out of my pocket and look at it during
No,
a movie.
because you're an
I
asshole
felt-
if you take your
Well,
phone
and it's
out.
my
annoying to
phone.
everybody else around you.
See,
You
that's
see
not
that glow.
as not as annoying to me as people talking.
No.
If you're someone in
talking
front
is
of
worse.
you has a cell phone, it's totally annoying because the
it's
light
all you
distracts
see.
you.
It just
Yeah.
takes you out of the movie, even if it's for 5 seconds. It's like, God damn it, I'm watching the damn.
What if
Anyway,
the movie's about cell phones?
So my phone is going off in my pocket, vibrating over and over
Who-
again. It's
who
like,
was it?
Are we allowed to say who
Was
it
it,
was?
If you want.
was it Kara?
No.
It was Kathleen. Maybe we can cut that. And it's going off over and over again. I was like, who?
And she was in the theater? She was in the theater?
Yeah, she's in there. with
She
us.
was like sitting right behind you, I think.
She was in front by a couple rows. And then I went out. The movie ended. The movie ended, and I was furious at this point because I had like just people talking everywhere, and everyone was like,
Well, you turn your phone off too,
"I could have done. I could have done.
That's
I
what you're
should have done."
supposed to do.
Who turns their phone off ever? Anyway, so everyone like does the American thing where the movie ends, and for some reason you clap. There's no point. There's no one in there who made the movie. Don't bother clapping.
Did people clap?
Yeah, people clapping at the end of
clapped.
that movie, and I didn't clap. I just got up.
That's like a tree in the forest argument right there. I don't know. And there's not anyone on the movie. You don't know. There could have been somebody who was on the movie.
There's no one there, Joel.
You don't know.
Nobody who worked on the movie was there. I got up, stood up, just looked straight ahead, and just turned and just walked straight out while everyone was still there clapping.
Well, aren't you respectful?
No, it wasn't. It was fury, not
I
respect.
was fuming, and then I took my phone out of my pocket. Kathleen's texted me about 7 times, being like, one of them was a picture of Tom Hardy saying, "This is Bane. This is Bane. It's really hot." And then the other one was like,
Oh yeah, I'd be pissed.
but it was basically spoilers from the movie. Like,
Yeah,
not
yeah,
really-
that-
it was
that's
like-
even
don't say
worse.
It
spoilers.
was like predictions. It was like, I bet this is gonna happen. Oh, this is gonna happen, isn't it?
Okay, well then my note taking isn't that bad. At least I wasn't.
That is
texting.
pretty bad.
It was
That's
pretty bad.
I mean, if the movie sucks and it's terrible or whatever, and you hate the person, then it's okay to send them text messages. Then it's
Yeah,
funny,
because we're making fun of the dumb movie.
right?
That was a good movie.
It wasn't. It was a good movie. It wasn't bad enough to be sending texts during.
Yeah, no.
Yeah.
Yeah, I agree with the sentiment. I think I like The Dark Knight more. I felt like this movie was kind of like Batman Begins, where it's just too long. And Batman
thought that
Begins,
too. It took a
like
while
the
to-
ending really dragged
You
out.
know,
I thought
everything is context. And before that movie, like Jack and I were having like long conversations about what we thought the movie was going to be about, and he was like looking at a lot of speculation or whatever, and I bought into his speculation as to what we thought the movie was going to be about.
Mistake
So
number
I was
one.
going from a different mind frame, so that made the movie way more entertaining. But that's how it always is, right?
And Hathaway looked
whatever
really
the
hot. Got to
Yeah.
give
You
her that.
Can't
She
argue
did.
with that.
So let me ask you something about Bane.
okay.
Did you understand a word that he said?
I
throughout the
feel
whole
like they
movie?
eased up on his voice filter. Like when I went and I saw Ghost Protocol at the IMAX back in December, at the beginning of the movie, they showed that whole opening plane sequence from The Dark Knight Rises. When I saw that, I could not understand a fucking
I
word
did
Bane
not
said.
understand where he.
I feel like they pulled back a little bit and they eased up on that filter, and I could understand him now.
The screening we had was kind of harsh on
was
sound.
strange because it was sort of like when you go to Batman, it's going to like start, and then you see the Batman symbol, and then there's going to be like a slow drum beat. And then the drum beat is basically going to play for the next 3 hours, except for it's going to slowly accelerate during the movie. So by the end, it'll be like dun 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 dun, and then over that, you're going to hear Bane trying to talk, and you're not going to be able to understand what he's saying. And then there's a scene in the movie because he's got like the face mask thing.
Yeah.
And then there's a scene in the movie where he's talking to the face mask thing, can't understand what he's saying, and then he goes to like a microphone. He puts a microphone over the face mask. So he's got like 2 filters there. I was waiting for like another guy to put like a speaker in front of the microphone. And like,
It's like, I can't understand a word this guy's saying. Let's have him yell at 5,000 people through a megaphone.
no, I mean, they really should just cut to like scenes of people in the audience being like, I don't know what he's fucking saying.
It'd be funny to try to get people's reaction, like have Bane say, deliver dialogue on screen, and then you turn to people and be like, "What did he just say?"
I don't understand what he said. He sounded polite.
What just happened in this scene?
That also made the movie a lot more open to interpretation. And again, the movie I saw was probably a lot better than the movie you saw.
In the movie's defense, it made Batman a hell of a lot more understandable. I was like, I've
did,
got no problem understanding Batman
It did.
now.
It was just like you forgot about all that.
Yeah.
Like, totally.
His voice reminded me of someone doing an impression of a dog. Like, you know, when someone like talks like a dog and it's like, it will be very painful for you.
Wait, yeah, how did that go?
When I do an impression of a dog talking.
You do it.
I just did it. That was it.
No.
I gotta hear it again.
I'm not doing that again.
What kind of dog is that?
Yeah.
What did you say? I didn't understand it.
That was his where he was talking about what would happen if his mask would come off.
Say it again.
I'm not doing it again. No way.
We've got it recorded.
We'll just play it on the loop.
Yeah.
It just sounded like kind of like woofy.
Woofy. What does that sound like?
Sorry. Right, my question about Bane is this. Remember all those old, really crap Batman movies?
Yeah.
Is that the same guy as the guy who's like pumped with all the venom
You know,
stuff?
it's funny. Somebody on Facebook, Flash, actually forwarded like a video article from the DVD extras section of one of those old movies, and they were talking about like sort of what everyone else thought of Bane, and then they went to cut to Joel Schumacher, who was talking about Bane. It was like Joel Schumacher was coming from a completely different like place, where basically like, well, Bane is just the muscle, and he's really dumb, and
Well,
that's
what he
is.
was in that other movie. He was just a henchman guy, wasn't
Right.
he? But in this, he's like
He's supposed to. I'm not a big comic book guy, but from what I understand, he's supposed to be incredibly smart.
Oh, so they just dumbed him for the other movie.
Yeah, the other
for
movie
old
was like, Joel Schumacher.
It's amazing. Those
George
old,
Clooney.
those old Batman movies, they do not age well.
They're just so
They are
colourful. They're
very-
annoyingly like
Yeah, I
pink
remember at the
and
time,
green
it's
and
like-
blue, and it's
Yeah.
Even at the time, I think people thought they were terrible.
Yeah,
I think people liked the
probably
first
so.
one. They liked the Tim Burton one.
Yeah. Well, it's a weird thing where it's like, I'm going to do a Batman movie, I'm going to make it whimsical. It's like, no, don't make a Batman movie whimsical. That's not what it's about. It's about...
It's not a Disney
Well,
movie.
No.
it's a comic book movie. I think people were just trying to figure out how to make comic book movies at that point.
I guess so. And that's a thing that has to be talked about, because there's definitely a fine line between... I think you have to respect the comics to some extent, but someone who we know who was really into comics was talking about how he thought... I'm not sure I can get into this, but thought one of the other characters was going to be something else, which would have been more
I
interesting
see. Yeah,
referring to the comics.
Right.
And thought it was sort of dumbed down. Boo! Jack just walked in. Boo!
All right, Jack, you get your
All right.
spot.
Jack is going to tag out with Kara. Thank you for joining us, Kara. I'm glad
All right,
we got a
later,
chance to
guys.
make fun of you taking notes in the movie.
Bye,
You guys
Jack.
have to high five now.
Tag out.
Now you have to smack each other.
Wow,
that's pretty
Now
good.
you have to
Really
smack
good
each
high
other. No.
Thanks, Kara.
I'm saying,
She gritted her teeth though when she did it.
now you guys have to smack butts.
So we're talking about The Dark Knight Rises, but in a non-spoiler fashion.
That's difficult.
I think we've done a pretty good
Yeah, we've been pretty good.
Okay,
job.
so
But there
what?
definitely needs to be a fine line between respecting the comics and making it accessible.
So what is the consensus on the movie so far?
I think we all agreed that it was good, but The Dark Knight was better.
Okay.
Yeah.
Do we
okay
all
to
agree
go.
that it was about 45 minutes too long?
Yes.
Well,
Okay.
they're all 45 minutes. Too long.
I think this movie was like, what, 2 hours, 45 minutes
Yeah,
long?
it was really long.
That didn't bother me.
Yeah.
Just because anything that sort of changes up the formula a little bit, I'm fine with, and it just gave it a different sort of pacing or whatever. Which that's fine. Anything that's different, I like.
Well, one of my problems I had with the movie that I don't think it's too spoilerific is that there's not enough Batman in it. Like it seems like Batman's gone for a long time.
It actually did feel like when he was towards the later parts of the movie, there was a lot of stuff going on. It cuts, like, jump cuts straight to Batman. I was like, oh, it's Batman.
Oh, there he is.
This is killing me that we can't talk about stuff.
Yeah.
We should do a
we
spoiler
were
cast
talking
one
about last night. There was we were texting each other about we should do a spoiler
Yeah,
thing where we
spoiler
talk
cast.
about things.
Yeah.
We're all chomping at the bit to do that.
Yeah. I think Bernie wanted to be included,
Yeah.
but he sent me a text at 11 o'clock saying, hey, I can't make it to the podcast, so...
Oh, okay.
And we were talking about two choices: Batman and Breaking Bad.
Well, see, okay, and I argue
And
Breaking Bad.
I agree with you.
Okay.
Because most people have not seen Batman yet.
No.
Probably. And it's going to take some while to digest it.
Where
Whereas,
$160 million worth of people saw Batman
Wow.
already.
but still, still like a lot of people may not have seen it, or maybe they want to see it twice, or whatever.
Yeah. Have
But
you
it's like
seen,
Breaking Bad is, you're still in it,
Yeah.
where,
Yeah.
because now you can speculate on what's going on.
See, I want to talk about Breaking Bad like this week. Like what happened, what already happened in this previous episode, so we can talk about what happened this week, and then be like, okay, what do you think's going to happen next week?
Yeah.
The longer you wait, the more.
Jack had a
you're
good
gonna miss
idea
out.
for how to do it.
Yeah.
Maybe we'll do that with an upcoming episode. There's still, several episodes left
you
in the
see,
There's only
story.
6 episodes left.
Is 6 several? Actually, I said several.
Yeah, well, but still, several I use
There
like
are
a whole
several
season.
episodes left. I am in no mood for shit today,
So,
Jack.
like,
I already
whoa.
went over this.
So, like
Man.
a couple episodes.
Have you seen Breaking Batman?
Breaking Batman. I have
Where
not
Batman
seen
starts.
Breaking
You
Batman.
missed Gavin talking in a
Selling
dog's
meth.
voice.
Go ahead, talking to dogs.
You're going to have to re-listen to
Gavin, talking to
Also, like,
Say it!
No, go ahead. Go ahead.
Say something.
no, it's just that kind of style of noise. You can say something.
No,
else.
you say something. I want to hear you
I'm
talk
not
to
doing
it.
anything.
Your
Yeah,
dog
you should have
voice
been-
is amazing.
You should have been on time to the podcast.
I was finishing up my work.
Doing work, huh?
I finished up what I was doing, and then I joined the podcast.
Yeah.
You walked out of the room, and Jeff was like, God damn it, I needed him to film something. And you're like, nope, peace out, and walked away. No, you could have filmed something and helped Jeff out.
I'm going
but
to be here
no.
all day.
Were you going to
What's
film
your
something
problem?
about a dog that
No.
needs a voiceover?
Oh, that's
You
going
should
to be
do
a thing now,
you
isn't
should
it?
do a Let's Play in Minecraft just using your dog's voice. And you should get a skin. Are there any skins that make you look like a dog?
You can be...
There's
What's
a cat.
Banjo from Banjo-Kazooie?
You
can't
and
listen
Michael
to
did a video. What the hell was that video?
Oh,
What was it?
Slender Man?
That was
Oh,
a funny.
God.
That was a funny video.
That was really
and
funny.
you assholes won't finish the game.
It was just a scary game.
Scary game.
Would you... Okay.
Okay, next time we do that, we need to film Gavin play, because
Would
Gavin
you?
was all over that room. He was bouncing around.
It was scaring the absolute guff out of me. Would you sit in a
What is
dark room?
guff? How much guff do you have in you?
Would you sit in a dark room alone, knowing that there was nobody within a mile of you at night playing that game?
Were you all playing in a dark room?
No, and it was still scary. That's my point.
Well, we should absolutely do that now and film it. Probably.
Do you get scared of stuff? I figure we'll black it out. We'll put a night vision camera on your face.
I
just to
would
see.
get. I generally have gotten scared of stuff. Yes, I
I got
generally get
scared
scared of
playing
stuff.
Can we?
Fear.
Can we- is there any way we can?
You should make yourself scared of stuff because
No.
it's more interesting.
It's unpleasant.
Is there
No,
any
it's-
way?
it's-
Is there any way we can set up a computer in the annex and just darken everything?
Yeah, of
and so
course.
all you're doing is sitting there in the room
The
by
annex
yourself.
is scarier when it's lit.
No.
So-
Have you
Like-
seen the annex? That's the scariest looking.
Did you see the
building
photo
ever.
that Chris tweeted yesterday? We had Brandon and I were trying to
It
figure out
looked
how
like
we're
something out of World War II.
how
What
we
was
were
going on?
gonna hang lights up on the
yeah.
rafters.
Uh-huh.
So we had to get on the scissor lift up. We went up like 20 feet in the air or something. So and then we got a C clamp and put it on the rafter. And we thought, well, we need to put some weight on it. So we got that giant wrench we have and hung it on the C clamp. And we thought, well, this is dangerous. We should put some head protection on. So we got those immersion army helmets and we were wearing them up there on the scissor lift under this giant wrench looking up at the ceiling.
This sounds like a disaster.
It was.
You should definitely-
Chris secretly took a photo, and I look at it like we looked like fucking retards. We looked so stupid up there.
Was it all three of you up there?
Yeah.
See, that should
and
be-
the scissor. I've never been on the
That
scissor
should be
lift before.
part. That should be part of the
It's
set.
like
It
wavy.
moves. Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, it moves.
We actually have people over there right now. We have volunteers over there because we didn't want. Because we're having them sit there all day so that they can just lighting around them. It's like stand-ins, so that we don't have to pull anyone, off of work like Gavin, who wouldn't just walk out on his job. So we
I have
got
a stand-in
volunteers
right
to go
now?
out there.
I have a stand-in?
You have a stand-in who will stand there for 8 hours while lighting
Do
is
they
adjusted
know
around
that?
them.
this is not important enough to have stand-ins.
Quiet, they don't know.
Don't tell them that. Wait. So are these volunteers? Like people?
Yeah.
Like there's friends of friends?
they're
or something,
I think
or-
they were guardians.
I'm
March 6th.
sitting in the seat, so some asshole can come sit in the seat later and say the word boobs for an hour. That's pretty much.
So that some assholes can be in the other building talking about The Dark Knight Rises.
Yeah.
Talking about how they saw the movie early and
Like, the conversation they're having over there is probably more topical and relevant than what we're talking about over here.
you think so?
Probably.
So are the doubles over there? Are they like? Are they trying to dressing up like they're dressing up like us?
just,
or like,
just to clarify, they're not doubles. They're not like impersonating.
Did you go out and
people.
get like a giant like bush to like stand in for Jack? Because how are you gonna like that?
He trimmed his beard.
I don't know
It's
how
all
you're gonna
clean
like
now.
it. It's like
What are you talking
need
about?
like a
How long-
tumbleweed with a pair of
Okay,
glasses.
How long did you go without trimming that beard?
probably about almost 8 months. I mean, I trimmed the sides, but like the bottom, I just let grow and grow. And the way it worked is like, so I went to the
You know when you
get my
have, like,
haircut.
a-
Shut the fuck up!
you
I
know
went,
you
I
have,
went to
like,
get my
a-
haircut,
you have, like, a-
and I was like, okay, I showed the woman a photo from like probably 4 or 5 months ago, so it was still long, but it wasn't like out of control. And I was like, but this is what I want. I don't want to get rid of all of it. Just trim it down a little bit. She goes, okay, and like pulls out this razor and just goes and just killed all of it like a one shot. And I was like, oh.
Did you say anything
Okay.
to her?
No. At that point, it's like I can't have her put it back on. It's
That's
like,
you gotta ride that delicate balance of like if I insult them more, then there'll
Yeah.
be more pay. You have to just cut your losses and not insult them.
So it's short. I mean, it's clean. It looks
Wait,
nice.
let me ask
you know, you have like a pet, like an animal, and you give the animal like a haircut. And
No.
then at the end of the haircut, they just kind of look sad, like they look less of a person.
Other
or
than
an
a dog, what animal do you give haircuts to?
I can't get over your face.
The affliction.
Subject change.
You
Let
look
me ask
like
you
a Yorkshire
something.
Terrier.
Let me ask you something quite obvious. Why didn't you shave your own damn beard?
Well, no, because I went to get my haircut because like they do it professionally. And I would rather have
You need
professional.
a professional to deal with your beard.
Yeah. What? Might as well.
Did you see how unruly that beard was?
It was
I
out
wouldn't
of
want to
control.
touch it
But
either.
at the same time, like I can
need,
change
like,
the oil in my car,
surprised
but
you
I'd
didn't,
rather
like-
go take it somewhere people know what the fuck they're doing.
Yeah, but you don't have to fucking worry about disposing of your beard hair afterwards.
Well,
or
I don't know, that
worry
beard
about
hair is pretty serious.
It's a totally different thing. I'm with you up to a point.
Okay, but they did bring out a bag that had the biohazard symbol on it and put it all in there. So
See, I was gonna.
I want to mention
Hire
we're actually
toxicologist
doing a
for that.
giveaway this week.
Oh, yeah?
Oh, we're doing a giveaway
To a
Yeah.
listener.
You gave away. Did you give away something last week?
Yeah, we did. We gave away the
Marcus Phoenix thing, right?
yeah, the Project
Those
Triforce
things were
stuff.
sick as hell.
I mean, if you ever, I don't know if you ever talked about some of the stuff that we gave away at RTX, but it's like that was amazing stuff.
Well,
Yeah,
we
some
were-
of us, we gave away some more of that stuff last week.
They gave you like another snub pistol and stuff, right?
Yeah, and
Yeah,
then
those
two of the Marcus Phoenix
replicate
busts.
guns were really awesome to hold.
All
This
right.
week, however, we're giving away something different.
Uh-oh.
We're not giving away any more of those. We're going to give away, or I should say that GameMinder, who's sponsoring this week's podcast,
Hey.
is giving away an Xbox 360 signed by the Rooster Teeth staff.
Oh, cool.
And, the GameMinder was at RTX, and you can hear them talk about RTX on their own podcast, who we will crush. I'm still using that app. I don't know if
Yeah,
you
no,
are. or
I
not.
used it yesterday, as a matter of fact.
But it helps remind you what the release dates for games are, and when games are available for pre-order, you can pre-order them directly through the app
So,
and get push notifications.
Who can you pre-order?
And,
for? Just everybody?
Yeah, I believe it goes through Amazon, and you can get whichever app you want. It's for Android, iOS, and you can get it from GameMinder.com.
yeah, I used it yesterday to look up when Borderlands 2 was coming out.
So-
I have a reminder set for
the
that.
way it works,
Nice.
what do you do? Just pick the games you want to know about, and then it'll just push notifications
Yeah.
to your phone.
Yeah, like,
so it doesn't notify you about every game.
Right.
Okay.
You can choose specific. You can filter by platform if you want, and to find specific games. So like here, I've got 5 set up right there.
Oh, that's awesome.
As you yawn.
You dick. No, it is a really cool app, and I
and you can
definitely
see,
have
like,
made use of it.
I clicked on Halo 4, and there's an Amazon link right there if you want to buy it.
Oh, that's awesome.
And then you can cancel your reminder.
Without
anyway,
warning that time.
it's pretty cool. So, I didn't say, if you want to have a chance to win the Xbox 360, just send a tweet with the hashtag GameMinder360 or GameMinder360 all together.
Are Rooster Teeth employees eligible for this?
Those TC employees are not eligible.
Damn it.
The contest ends this Friday at noon Texas time.
Noon Texas time. All right.
Central Time.
Yes,
Central Standard Time. -6 GMT.
So
Is that correct with
Enter.
daylight saving time?
I don't know if it's -6 or -5. That's why I stopped saying it.
Okay.
So I just say Texas time.
Well, does it actually change here? Do you have to? Because
Well,
the way
we-
it works is we go from GMT 0 to GMT +1 in the summer.
Yeah, see, that's why I don't know.
In the UK.
Plus, also, I think you all change your clock at a different time than we change our
Yeah,
clock.
there's like a week-long period where Texas is only 5 hours behind England, and then the next week it's 6 hours.
Is that,
Yeah,
is
when
that
I
the,
went
is
to
that the
MC
52-hour day you were talking about?
Shut up, Jack.
When I went to MCM in October, that's when the UK set their clocks an hour back.
Right.
Then I came back to the United States and we hadn't set it, and then like 2 days later we had to change it again. And it was like, well, stop fucking with me.
Yeah, it's a
Fucking
huge,
time.
it's a huge pain in the
Dude,
ass.
have we talked about Gavin asking what time it was in space?
No, we have not.
Oh my god!
It's a valid question. Everyone's going crazy. The International Space Station,
We
there's
did-
people on there who have to know what time it
We-
is.
we did
Which
it-
time zone do they take the time from? Is this an
No,
actual
that's not what
question?
you said.
No, that's not what you
Time is in
said.
Space.
So we had dinner the other night, and we were talking about the International Space Station, and Gavin straight up, completely serious, said, "Well, what time is it in space?" And everyone at the table kind of stopped and looked at him and was like, "Wow, you are really that dumb." And now he's trying to say, like, "Oh, what time is it? What time zone is it in space?" Like, no,
We
that's
were
not
talking
what you said.
specifically about the ISS, so I asked what time is it in space.
Yes, that's
Yes,
exactly
that's
what you said.
I'm sure time is relative to where you are on Earth. So I'm sure they just pick a time zone, probably GMT, and then they stick with that.
Yeah?
Yeah,
Thanks for your answer, Gus.
there you go.
I appreciate it.
As for the rest of space, I don't know. I don't know what time it is on Mars. I don't know what time it is on the fucking Soyuz fucking shuttle or capsule as it's going to the ISS. But I can tell you on the ISS, it's probably GMT.
Cool.
So when you're back in England, you're on ISS time. When the
good to know.
fuck are you leaving?
Yeah. Why'd you come back?
I left for a long time.
Since
I
you
was gonna
ditched
lie.
everyone at RTX, you didn't want to go. You clearly hated RTX. I'm sorry, Gus, that Gavin hated RTX
Well,
so
it's
much
okay.
that he wouldn't go to it.
Bernie told a story about your dick touching a urinal.
That is true.
That probably more than made up for.
That was a bad time. I'm going to wait until Bernie's on to talk about that again.
So you were legitimately pissed off at Bernie when he did that.
My genitals bonged into the cold metal pissy surface of a urinal.
Urinal.
Can you get an STD like that?
You probably absolutely can if someone's like spunks some chlamydia up the side of it or something.
Were you still urinating when it touched?
Yeah.
Oh, did it like hit and
Well, why
spray
did I
like
just-
over here?
Did you get backsplash?
The thing
Did you
is,
get your own?
right? I
How
don't
do you
know.
justify that in your mind?
The thing is, I don't know how you pee when you're, peeing into one of those trough things. But I was looking down at my gentleman, and I was looking at it peeing, and then all of a sudden I get like kicked in the ass. So I go flying forwards, and I'm like, oh, I'm going to bang my face because I'm holding, holding my jennies.
Okay, so you use two
Decisions.
hands to hold yours when you pee?
I think because I don't go through the fly, one was holding down my jeans, and the other was holding my
Okay.
my aim. So
Okay.
it's like I was dual wielding.
Not
so
sure how much I want to get into the
I got-
detail of this.
I got kicked forward, and my face is about to hit the wall. So I'm like, oh! I leant back.
You went dick first
And my
into the
John
wall?
Thomas just goes.
Did it make a noise?
Yeah,
Oh.
it was like one of those. Imagine a piece of metal that's thin enough where if you pushed it, it would be like kind
Yeah.
of that. It would do
Yeah.
that, and it's like rattled through. It was
So
bad. It
was there
bad
anyone
time.
else next to you at the urinal?
Not at that point.
Okay.
And then Bernie came out like tears down his face laughing, and like the bathroom was literally opposite our booth, so everyone watched us go in there together, and
Nice.
they watched him come out like tearing with laughter, and me just like, I need to wash my penis.
Did you go back to your room and like take a dick shower or something?
I showered thoroughly that night, but I had to sit there all
dick
day
shower.
with a bloody, I don't know.
With a
Oh,
bloody
Don't,
penis?
say, don't say
gross.
bloody. Don't use that term when you're describing your penis.
There was no blood, thankfully.
Okay. That's fucking hilarious.
I'm derailed.
We've broken Joel.
I'm derailed. I don't
Joel,
know.
what is in that Starbucks cup that you always have with you at all times?
Tea?
Are you sure?
Yeah. You know what I do is I order tea in the morning, and then we go out to lunch or whatever, and then I get sweet tea, and I bring the sweet tea, and I put it in the thing with the tea, so it's like double
But it's
tea.
like green nasty tea or something now.
Green tea's not nasty.
It's tea.
Well, no, but I'm not saying green tea's that. I'm saying whatever he has in there is nasty.
It's green tea.
I don't know. No, there's more to it than that.
Jack is working
Did you
too
put beer
hard.
in there?
Jack, no, I should.
Oh, man.
I should put beer.
So at RTX, people gave me a ton of liquor. So I've been drinking like hardcore every night trying to get through it. someone gave me this bottle of moonshine called Old Smoky, and it has like maraschino cherries in it, and it's super red.
That sounds awesome.
And it may be the best thing I've ever drank
Bring
in my
some
life.
in.
I drank it all.
Oh,
It's
you
gone.
fucker.
Yeah, I can't find any more in Austin. I have to find a way
Isn't
to
the kind
get
of
it
stuff
online.
that just like it glides down? It doesn't even feel like you're drinking.
Yeah, it's like sugary sweet. Like you add it to any soda, and it's instantly like a cherry Coke
Yeah.
or a cherry Sprite.
That's cool.
And
That is cool. I wish we could have some.
No,
Old Smoky is what it's called.
yeah.
Who gave
Old
you that
Smoky. I believe it was Dan Jitsu from the website. He typically is the person who gives me moonshine. But
We have the best fans.
yeah, yeah. Like,
fans are
I
pretty
tweeted a
badass.
picture of
So
it after
great.
RTX, and it was just like, oh my god, I got so much fucking booze.
Yeah.
I like your mindset where it's just sort of like, I have all this booze, I have to get through it.
Yeah.
Like as fast as possible. I got to clear up the inventory.
Dan also gave me another bottle of this stuff called Cat Daddy, just because of the Kate Upton Cat Daddy video.
Nice.
But that stuff's really good with root beer. I'll bring some of that. And
Really?
there's still a little bit left.
Huh, okay.
Yeah. From now on, your job is to supply this podcast with your collection.
No.
No.
My job is to tell the podcast what they can buy to supply itself. I'm not bringing my personal stash in. Y'all are fucking crazy.
Man.
What's the user's name?
Dan Jitsu. Dan Jitsu.
Why is there a stamp on your laptop, Joel?
In case it gets lost, it can be returned to him.
Please
You know,
return to sender.
I had a. I did too. It's to keep mine from looking. It's to make mine stand out from other laptops. So because there's so many of these laptops hanging around here that it's like I don't want to
No,
accidentally pick up
I've
some.
got stickers on my laptop. Same sort of deal.
I
And a
didn't go
postage
through-
stamp was just the closest. It's the only thing that I have is it's in sticker form.
That's why we
So I
signed-
have no other stickers.
That's why we signed Gavin's desk, so we know it's his. So if it gets lost, we'll return it.
So, do you know, Joel? I think maybe we talked about this the other day. Are there people who invest in postage stamps?
There are-
Since you can buy a forever stamp now, right, for 44 cents or whatever, then as postal rates increase, then its
Right.
value increases.
Right, like a forever first class stamp is a great investment because the post office is totally screwed, and
Forever
it's going to
stamp.
have to keep. It's
So
going to have to price.
if you put all your money into just buying these stamps, that's your retirement, right? You just hold on to them and then you flog them later for whatever they
Do that.
Yeah, you flog
please,
them.
Please
Exactly.
do that. Please do that, Gavin. That's very sound. You should do that.
Would that not work?
I like.
No,
I
it'll
like.
work.
I'm in. I like your flogging and your. I like. I'm totally with it.
But see, I don't think people would have the confidence that the postal service would stay solvent long enough to like recoup your
That's a good
investment.
Point. That's a good point.
Yeah.
I saw a story the other day. I don't know what it was. It was on some fucking news program about people who collect. What is it, like pre-1983 pennies that have more copper in them?
Yeah,
and they
it's
just
same thing.
stockpile them.
Same thing with nickel. Like the amount of I guess I'm not sure. I guess nickel is worth more than 5 cents.
Mm-hmm.
So a nickel right now is worth more than 5 cents. So there are people, hedge funds, who are stocking up and getting tons of nickels,
Hmm.
and they're all just waiting. It's just like it'll just be a matter of time before they start withdrawing a lot of the minerals out of actual
Yeah,
nickels.
but then what can you do with that? Like, it's not worth more; it's worth its face value. It's illegal to melt down coins.
Is it?
Is it?
Yes.
I think the theory is that there will be a recognition for certain nickels, coined by a certain date will be considered more valuable based
So
on date.
then are banks and are the government? God, this sounds like a fucking conspiracy. Are they secretly taking those coins out of circulation so that they don't have to pay out?
I don't know.
Because it seems like if you're going to do something like that, like for 10 years before you pass that.
Well, the guy,
rule,
it's funny. The
you
guy
withdraw them.
who runs the hedge fund was like, "I'm going to get all these nickels," and said, "I want $1 million." Got $1 million in nickels, and the bank was like, "Why do you want $1 million in nickels?" And it's like they had to go to the Fed. The Fed's like, "Why do you want $1 million in nickels?" It's just like his answer was, "I just like nickels."
Who's knocking on the door?
Come in. Who
is it?
Come in. Come in.
The door's locked on.
The door's locked. We've locked the door.
Who is it? Come on, open it. What?
That's Monty.
Hey.
Hi, Monty.
We're in the middle of the podcast recording right now. There's a sign on the door that says "Podcast recording in progress. Do not enter."
That's why not.
Did you see the sign? This is "Do not enter." You entered. I don't know where Bernie is. He's not here. Ladies and gentlemen, Monty Oom.
Hey.
So they let him withdraw.
He eventually got him. Yeah. So I don't know.
So he got $1 million.
I'm not.
When I was watching that same news program, they also talked about how it's illegal to leave the country with a certain amount of coinage. Like you can only leave, I think, with like $100 in pennies or something small like that. Because in other countries, it would not be illegal to melt down the coins.
You know,
bury
the thing
them.
is that we all understand why they're doing that is because the theory is like they're trying to like keep criminal activity, you know, stifled. But it's like I don't like that stuff. I don't like,
it's cash. Also, you can't. Yeah, like if you have more than $10,000 in cash, you have to declare it, and you have to go through like customs.
I mean, and we may or may not have had that genuine problem before. I mean,
you know what I discovered? They at
had a problem
border
with Vegas.
point of entries, they have money sniffing dogs.
They just
they?
identify money and not drugs.
Yeah.
Do they shave them?
Yeah,
No,
but
they don't
how
shave
does a
them.
dog know that someone's got too much money?
I think it just hits if there's if it can
The
smell
question
it.
is, what does money smell like?
Cocaine.
Probably like dead skin cells and. Bleh.
There was a thing going on in my town. I was just back in England. I was talking to some people where they're about to rip up all the copper from. They're going to just replace all the internet with fiber optic, and it's going to cost a lot of money to do it. But they're going to make more money just selling the copper that's already there.
Really?
Oh yeah, that makes sense.
They're going to make all the money back and more just selling the copper. It's crazy.
So fiber is cheaper than copper?
I guess it is. It's more valuable to.
It's cheaper enough to where they can dig out the old shit and put in new shit and still make money on
Well,
that?
I guess they're making enough fiber to cover the whole country, and each town has got enough
Where's
copper.
this?
in it.
Where's this?
It's in England.
In England?
Yeah.
That seems fucking ridiculous to me.
Yeah.
That's crazy.
Yeah. There's probably a lot of copper under there. It's an
probably a
old
lot of
place.
There's always those stories about people who decide they want to steal copper. It happened here in Austin a couple of years ago. Some idiot broke into like a power substation to steal copper, and got electrocuted and died because he like touched live, high voltage wires in a fucking substation.
That's always smart.
Yeah, it seems like as time goes on,
I'm on. By the way, I'm on Danjitsu's page.
Oh, no.
And I'm informing him that I can't quite give him my award yet because I haven't gotten any alcohol from him.
Dude, we were supposed to there was more awards on their way, right? Like that. I think like 3 years ago when I started working here, it was like, oh yeah, hey, you're gonna get an award, and then they actually drew one up, and I never got it.
yeah, we actually made awards for everyone. I don't know what happened to them.
Well, we had like the second wave of awards, and I was in there, and then that just never happened. That was like 2 years ago.
Yeah, it was like 2 years ago.
So what happened to that?
You should talk to the director of technology. Find out what the status of that is.
At the time, you were the director of technology. You
Yeah,
should
but
know.
I don't know. I'm not in that anymore.
You passed on everything.
That's an Adam question.
Jesus.
I'm more busy. I'm too busy now with the podcast.
Gus, I want to talk about Breaking Bad so bad. It's such
Well, let's talk about it without spoiling it.
I don't
We
know
can
if
talk about the end of season 4, right?
Yeah.
At this point, yes. It's been out for over a year. No, wait. Oh, yeah, over
Yeah.
a year.
His face blown in half. His face came off.
His face
came off. No eye.
They told you in the title of the episode. The title of the episode was Face Off.
Yeah.
Those
Which
times
is
are always
great.
very clever because you think nothing of them, and then it's like, I get it.
Yeah.
Once the episode's
Well,
done.
there's some cool stuff. Like the beginning of season 4, when they were in Gale's apartment. Because, season 4 begins with the aftermath of Jesse shooting Gale in the face, right? So it begins with, not Victor. Is it Victor? Was he the guy who went to the... He was the one. The first episode was Box Cutter, where Gus just straight up murders that guy. But he goes there and he's looking around the apartment, and one of the things he sees in the apartment is like this painting of a face that has like half of it removed.
Oh, so a bit of foreshadowing going on there.
Yeah. And so I remember when the final episode came out, people were like, connecting all that stuff. They even showed
people also speculated. Remember in was it season 2 after the plane crash?
Yeah.
The bear floating in the pool with like half of its face.
blown
Yeah,
up.
they had that eyeball rolling around
Right.
for a while.
Yeah.
It seems like the end of season 4 was actually a conclusion. Like it could have ended there.
I think-
like season 3 was a cliffhanger. It was
I
in
think
the
they
middle
weren't
of
they
everything.
weren't sure if there was going to be a season 5.
Right.
Yeah, they left a few dangling things.
I don't know what it is.
God, how could they not? I mean, surely they're doing well in the ratings, right?
Well, it's an expensive show to produce. Apparently, it was a very last minute deal to get this 5th season from AMC.
I don't understand it, man. I mean, AMC's like killing it.
Yeah.
Like killing it.
Well, they're killing it, but then they don't support their shows. Like Walking Dead, you heard what happened with the second season of
I
Walking
mean,
Dead.
are they not getting the ad revenue, I guess?
I have no idea. I mean, like Mad Men.
It seems
I have to imagine Mad Men
it
is
seems
the
like
most
ad
expensive
revenue
one.
takes forever to catch up to what's going on.
Yeah.
It seems like ad revenue just takes forever to figure out where actual viewers are.
Yeah.
I mean,
It's weird. I mean, but
I mean, look at us, but whatever.
what? Wait, has ad revenue caught up to us yet? Are we seeing
The internet? I mean,
I guess we have sponsors for the podcast now, so it only took 2.5 years to get sponsors.
It took 2 decades.
There's something very specifically about CG in that, from what I've seen, CG looks so organically good when it's combined with someone's face.
Yeah.
Like Dark Knight, his face was half off.
When it looks like it's inconsistent, like matter, it seems like it's easier. the muddier it is, it seems like
It just looked like the camera pans around, half of his face is off. It looks so real and
looked
good, and
really,
so
really
did
good.
So did Harvey Dent's face.
Yeah,
in
Harvey
Dark Knight.
Dent
It's
was
just like,
amazing.
Where is the joint? It's absolute. You can't even. It's unbelievable.
But dude, yeah, when he walks out of that room and like adjusts his tie, it just drops. It's
like,
oh,
I had to like stop it, and I rewound it like instantly.
That's
I watched
so
it
good.
on Zune on my Xbox. It's like, what the fuck?
oh yeah, Mr. Ding Ding, like hitting the button.
Yeah.
Trying to get to go
And
up.
that's-
Senor Ding Ding.
Senor Ding Ding.
and it's all one shot as well. Like it just goes from like Gus stands up, and then the door just gets busted out into the hall,
Yeah.
and then it's just the same shot.
And it's
and
a
then he
violent
walks out.
explosion,
Yeah,
too.
it's like it's no fire. It's just like poof.
Yeah, something like a
It's like
gas, like a
concussive
compression
force.
explosion.
We were talking recently, Gus, about you were saying how when there's an explosion, there's like
Oh,
a certain
yeah.
like concussive force that the body just can't survive, and it just dies.
Yeah,
like,
your nervous system turns off. That's why a lot of times, a lot of weapons and artillery, they don't have to blow up or create an explosion in you. They just have to hit you with a strong enough concussive wave.
So it's just like
that
the
shuts
sound
off-
wave that just bashes
it
you.
just shuts off your brainstem and your nervous system, and you just die.
That's trippy.
So are there people just like dead on the ground with no real injury?
Right, it's just like a shockwave hits them, and that's it. They look totally fine.
Because I've filmed some explosions back when I used to film stuff in slow motion, where we would like blow up a 1,000-pound bomb from like a mile away, and obviously in real time it's just like you see the light, and then it's like when it hits you. But in slow motion you get this dome of like air.
pressure.
It's like
Yeah.
you just see it. It's like a bubble shield in Halo. But
Is
just
it
getting
like
bigger.
is it like the Sonic? I don't know what it
It's
is.
just like the ripple in the sound. It just pushes out.
Yeah, you see that on MythBusters a lot when they're
Yeah.
blowing up big stuff. We watched an episode of MythBusters recently that the episode was a guy with a fire extinguisher and a guy with a flamethrower.
Oh, yeah.
And they were facing off each other, and then they like shot them at each other at the same time. And in this video, like they would hit in the middle and kind of like like dissipate or whatever. And they were like, okay, we're going to see if this is actually true, if this was fake. It was a music video.
Yeah, they were like referencing this music video and saying,
so-
"Is this a real?"
Yeah, they were like, this is this is pretty cool, but we're going to see if we can recreate this.
What exactly are they testing?
Well, they were just seeing if it was legit or if it was CGI.
fire beats water.
Oh, I
But I
see.
mean, it was fire extinguisher and
You
it was
can't
fire.
shoot a fire
Wait,
extinguisher.
fire extinguisher and fire?
Yeah, it
Oh,
was a
I thought
fire-
it was the water.
No, it was a fire extinguisher
Oh, okay.
facing off against a flamethrower.
Okay.
And then, so these two guys, kind of like these hillbilly-looking guys shooting at it. But it was for a music video, and we were watching it. We were actually at Jeff's place, and Gavin walks over. He goes, "Oh yeah, I shot that."
Yeah.
Yeah, it was a fucking music video that Gavin
once on
shot.
So did they do that on
So
set?
did it work?
Yeah,
So-
did they stop the fire?
Fire.
Yeah, well, eventually, like the fire extinguisher they had, like wasn't like they were using a normal one, and it wasn't shooting out far enough, so they had to like build a fire extinguisher to like go the distance that the flamethrower would go. But ultimately, they got it to work. But it's funny because like Gavin's like, oh yeah, that's totally real because I was there.
Now, did you
Miserable shit.
guys applaud at the end of the episode because Gav had worked on it?
Do you have an issue?
Well, the whole point.
You'd worked on the episode, so clearly
So
you need a round of
deserve
applause.
Yeah, clap it up.
Wait, what? I think I missed that
Yeah, I
part.
was being
missed
stupid
that.
earlier.
Do you have an issue with the fact that I don't clap at a movie?
You don't clap at movies
Do you clap at movies?
on like big premieres?
Did you
Sure,
clap
why
at Dark
not?
Knight?
On Thursday, yeah.
Who are you clapping for?
The spirit of theater.
Spirit of
Do you want to leave now or what? Are you going to say more things after that? 'Cause I don't give a
He was
shit.
No, I was making
clapping
that up.
because the people around him weren't talking or texting him, so he was like applauding the fact that he wasn't getting.
Oh, wait.
Father and son
Did
of
we
the
talk
spirit
about?
of
Did we talk
theatre.
about talking and texting during the
Yes.
movies?
Yeah, we did.
Yes.
Did we talk about certain people
I
sending
rattled
texts?
on at Dave about that for a long time.
Okay.
Yeah, we outed them for being bad moviegoers.
It's at the draft house too. Come on, man. Although there was no, we didn't have the stinger, the no talking stinger before.
Yeah.
Did you go to that one, too?
Our screen.
I was asleep. I wanted to go, but RVB 10 has been killing me. I just wanted to come in and talk about that, but there's a lot to do, so I'll get back to work. RVB 10's looking great, though.
Episode 8 just came out, right?
Yeah, but that was the stuff from PAX East, so like we kind of had a buffer, but we're chasing like some really good sequences coming up. I got a really lot of I took a bit of a break. I don't really take a break, but I was away from my desk for a while, so I'm coming back with a lot of really good scenes. We just kind of gotta chase that deadline now.
It's been a while since I've been back there to see what you're working on. I'm going to...
We didn't have to cut
look over
the
your shoulder
fire
for-
extinguisher flamethrower scene, did we?
Well, you have to clap afterwards.
No flamethrower sequence in this season. Spoiler for that, because that was a pain in the ass last year. But I got new stuff coming.
Is
which
fire a
good.
pain in the ass to work with in CG?
It is and it isn't. My version is actually really easy, but we did a version that was harder last year.
What's the hardest thing?
hardest thing is people.
People?
People are hard, man.
Do you think that's because people have, or the viewer has more experience looking at faces?
That's exactly the reason. Yeah.
I shot a video recently of Molotov cocktails exploding on the side of a house in slow motion. I want to show it to you.
It looks so good.
It looks
It
pretty
looks
cool.
it looks fake. It looks so.
It does. Like there's a point where like liquid and just elemental stuff like fire really slowed down.
Can I have and use that footage for our season?
Sure. You could like cut it out from the brick wall I threw it at. But
You know,
go for it.
this episode that came out this week, I think I have a cameo in the episode. I'm not sure. I think the beginning, like,
Gab, did you applaud at the end of the episode?
I didn't. I'm sorry.
It's it's Pilot. She's telling
yelling at that.
Yeah,
that
she's
guy.
telling the guy to move
that's
around.
you, right?
I think that's me grunting. So there's like that literally is like. Ugh.
you can recognize the grunt.
So you're
seriously
not
think
going to
it's
clap whether someone's worked on it or not.
Man.
You're not going to clap regardless.
Who's going to
That
clap
was
at
just
the
an
internet?
excuse.
I'm sat there like in my room with a laptop. I'm not going to clap.
Well, what,
Crazy.
What if,
Jeff was probably in the next room. He would have heard.
Probably.
Was Jeff in that episode?
You live in a house with about 20 people, I think.
well, I mean, Griff was in the episode, so I'm sure
yeah.
Jeff was.
There you go.
I have yet to voice anyone relevant in this show. 3 years here, and I still haven't voiced anyone.
is weird, 'cause-
Either Jack.
Either's Joel.
Either I.
Yeah.
Then we're down to the insulting portion of the podcast.
I hate you too.
No,
You're stupid.
Your face.
Your face. Your face.
No, your face.
Also, I'm sure we've talked about RTX, but it was pretty awesome. Like, a lot of people showed up for my panel. I wish we could have fit more people in. Like, Gus, they like overflowed and they had to cut people off. I got people all weekend telling me how they wanted to make it in, but they got cut off.
Way to go, Gus.
Yeah, we're gonna have bigger panel rooms next year.
I'm excited for RTX 2013. This one was awesome, and it's gonna be really cool.
It was a good learning experience. We I feel like we did some things right, and we learned what we didn't do
Do you
right.
feel like you should put up you should make it like an RTX review, or did people? I'm sure people have reviewed the con.
Oh yeah, there's been tons of
A lot of journals
tons
and
of
stuff.
feedback.
Don't
Yeah.
let Joel on stage with alcohol.
No, it was fun. Like, I mean, I know I did the Geeks Who Drink event, and we ended up. I mean, God, we had a great time there. But we had enough room for about. I thought our capacity was 200, and then I walk in, they're like, okay, you can fit about 90 people, and I was like, oh God damn it.
geez.
So like, I ended up having to fill the room. Like, we didn't have enough tables. We only had enough tables for 90. We ended up putting another about 45 like seats worth, where we just made pretended there was a table there and just made circles of seats. We filled all those up, and then we had people sitting on the floor. Like, we were just getting as many people as we could.
How
And
many
even
think-
after that, I
how many
walked
think were
outside.
total in there.
I think we probably had maybe 175, close to 200, something like that.
Was this on Saturday?
Yeah, Saturday night. So, but then I walked outside and personally apologized to the people, and I'm so sorry. I had to turn away probably 100 to 200 more people, and I was just like, man.
So why did you think it was only? Why do you think it was 200 when it was only 90?
well, because
The size of the room and how many tables it accommodated was one thing, but then there weren't the same number of tables put in as
Right,
what we
yeah.
expected.
Oh,
Okay.
yeah, and so the tables took up more space, obviously, than normal rows of chairs. So I think the room had a capacity of 330, and then with the tables, that kills a lot of space because you have a table in front of you. But for a trivia type thing, you need something in front of you, and the circles worked out well.
So
but-
yeah, fuck the table. It's just like sardine everyone in there.
Yeah, the size of table that they needed was not a standard table that was provided by the convention center, so there was no floor plan for it or no.
yeah.
See, this fits
But-
into the conversation that you had before RTX, where it's like we just had a meeting about how we're going
yeah.
to cut a hole in the table, and there it is.
Yep.
That's the thing.
But
we
I mean,
do.
all in all, everyone who was there in the room had a great time. I feel bad for the people who didn't make it in. I don't know if we completely sold out or completely filled up the music. So I think people can still get into that, no problem. But still. But I mean, no, RTX was amazing. I mean, it was a lot of fun. I think this is the first time I've been on since RTX.
Is it?
Yeah, I think so. Because I
I
was
guess
at
you went to
Comic-Con.
Comic-Con, yeah.
Yeah, me
Dude,
too.
and
How was Comic-Con?
Comic-Con was awesome. It was a lot of fun. I know the booth was great. We had 6 giant boxes of Griff balls, and what we did was we saved 3 for the first half and then 3 for the second half. And I think how many Griff balls is that? Probably about 250, 300.
Yeah, something like that.
Yeah. So the Griff balls, the first batch of Griff balls, pretty much sold out on preview night. So over the course of maybe 2 hours. And then we had our second batch of Griff balls that we were telling people, hey, Saturday morning, we're going to have more Griff balls. And they sold out in about 2 hours.
Yeah.
And
Wow.
it was just holy crap. And people kept coming up and asking for it. And it was awesome. I mean, it's kind of tough going from somewhere like RTX, where we literally have a convention hall worth of space, down to a 10 by 10 booth. So it was a little bit of a kind of a shock to the system to be shoot. But anyway, I mean, it was awesome. Barbara and Caleb and Jordan really kicked ass at the booth. And I was there, and then I came with my girlfriend, and she dressed up like a really hot elf, and that was a lot of fun to walk around.
Yeah, that was not a distraction in the booth at all. I
Not
bet.
at all, not at all. But no, more people were coming by the booth to check out what was going on. Like, hey, what's going on over here? It was great. But anyway, we had a good time walking around and met a lot of cool people. I saw the Triforce guys there.
I keep seeing you in. I don't know if you go to the Rooster Teeth subreddit much or not, but I keep seeing videos people take at San Diego Comic-Con. They're like, "Oh my god, I just realized Jack's in my video," and you're walking in the background. There's like a crowd of people, and you're easy to identify because of that fucking beard.
Yeah.
It's like, yep, that's Jack, all right.
Pretty easy to spot. But Halo 4 was there, so we went and saw Allison and Jessica and all those people. Like they literally left from RTX to go out to Comic-Con as well. So that was neat. And we hung out with the Mega 64 guys, and
They were next to us this year at
they
San
were
Diego.
right next to us this year.
Typically, in years past, they've always been like way on the other end of the convention hall.
Yeah, they usually put them down by the video games,
Right.
And this year they moved them over to us,
which is good.
Which
So
was
what
great.
happened to the people that used to be next to us?
I don't know. Like I've only been to Comic-Con one other previous time, so I'm not sure who was next to us. But Mega 64 is there now, and
It was like
it was fun.
It was a group of web comic artists, including the guy who does Looking for Group. And some other affiliated web comics. Oh, I wonder where they moved to. That's really weird.
But yeah, we still had Spike and Mike was right behind us, so we need to murder them and take their space
Yeah.
to get that end cap. That would be so awesome if we had an end cap.
Every year I ask for it.
But I know we did again this year, so we'll see if that happens. Probably
one
not.
day we'll get it.
But
I noticed we didn't have any like panels or anything this year.
Yeah, we never apply for them.
Okay, they came to us last
Yeah,
year.
if
I recall.
they come to us and want us to do it, we'll do it. But we don't apply for it typically.
yeah, Mega 64 had a panel, and I popped into that right at the very end, and they filled up a room, so that was very cool. I don't know how big the room was at RTX. They were in the big room at RTX,
Yeah.
right? It wasn't that big, but it was still pretty cool to see those guys.
We
They're
It's
funny.
funny. I've gone to
dudes.
Comic Con like a million times, and I've never gone to a panel because I'm obviously working the whole time or whatever. So it's like it's alien to me to even think that there are panels or whatever.
Yeah.
It's like I guess there's rooms upstairs.
Yeah, like you don't even know where that
No.
would be, right?
Yeah. It's funny. I've spent like all my time on the convention floor. I don't know nothing about any other part
The
of it.
one panel I went to was the 1 year when we had one, and I was like, and I was totally lost. Like I've been to Comic-Con for 5 years at that point. I was like, I have no idea where the panels are.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I tried to go to a panel one time actually, and I got I hate True Blood, and one of the reasons why is because of this. I was trying to go to the Fringe panel, which was I'm a huge fan of the show Fringe, and I waited in line for probably an hour and a half, and then I was 30 people away, and they said, "Sorry, we're sold out."
I'm hearing a million stories like that. I have a lot of friends who are into sci-fi and have been well before Rooster Teeth have been going to this thing for a long time, almost 20 years, and it's like they're getting to the point where it's just like, man, it is just a crunch of people.
Oh yeah,
and
it's
sort of
a
like,
mass of humanity.
They're telling me stories where it's like, well, I wanted to go to this one panel, but it's sort of like, and we woke up at like 3 a.m. and we got in line at 5 a.m. and it's just couldn't get in.
Yeah,
It's just sort of
but-
like you have to be committed to the point
A few
where you're
friends-
going to spend the night.
Yeah. Well,
overnight
what
in
happened?
line.
What happened was for me was after the Fringe panel was the True Blood panel. So people were waiting in line and they were going to the panel prior to True
Right.
Blood in order to get a seat for the next panel.
Right.
So there was a crap load
Yeah.
of people in there who didn't care about Fringe. They just wanted to get a seat for the next
Why do
panel.
they do that? Where they don't clear the room?
Just because it takes too long.
It's two different schools of thought, and we definitely experience this with RTX, where if you book panels too closely, you don't have time to clear the room if they're
Right.
too big. If you put too much time between them, then you can't fit all the programming in you want to.
Yeah.
A few of my friends got in line for the Legend of Korra, the new Avatar panel, and they happened to also see the Firefly panel, which was really cool and all. But then it's like, man, they got in line at like 2 a.m. on like Friday night, and were able to get into 2 panels. And I'm sure plenty of people didn't make into this it's a 5,000 person room, and can only fit I'm sure more people than that showed up. But they got in line at 2 a.m. and there were already 200 people in front of them.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, you heard about the Twilight thing where people were in line the day, a full day before the first panel, which I think the Twilight panel was the first one. So it was 36 hours people in line, and some woman actually got hit by a car. She was crossing the street and got hit by a car going to wait in line for Twilight.
Hey, did they build that pedestrian bridge?
They did, but it's way the hell down. It's past the baseball stadium.
What?
Oh,
Yeah.
wow.
It's next, that.
Why wouldn't they put it in front of the convention center?
I don't know. The one that goes right into the gas lamp.
It is astonishing to me because you look at the layout of that thing, and when that thing lets out at the end of the day, or people coming in and they've got railroad tracks going
Yeah.
through, and just I don't know how more people aren't.
So
They make gridlocks that whole area.
Yeah.
Cars can't move.
No,
I mean,
no.
it's impossible.
It is like a sea of humanity.
So if you're
Just-
if you're looking forward at the convention center, that hotel on the left, I think it's the Hilton on the far left.
Yeah.
So
or
if-
the Hyatt.
Whichever one that is.
Wait. When you're looking at it,
If you're
forward-
looking at the convention center, it's on your
Yeah,
left
that's the
side,
Hilton.
like where
Yeah,
they
yeah.
where
Yeah.
Hall H is on
Yeah.
that side. So it's pretty much you walk out of that hotel and it's right in front of you. That's how far. That's how far
is
down it is.
fucking retarded.
Yeah, and so like it drops you off literally
So,
the other side of Petco Park.
Basically, they built it for the baseball field and not the convention
Yeah,
center.
exactly.
They built it for a field that holds 50, 60,000 people instead of the convention center that holds a fucking 120,000.
Yeah, if they would have built it to go right across the street, right into the gas lamp district,
That's
that
what
would
I
have been.
thought they were gonna
Yeah,
do.
that's when you were talking about pedestrian bridge. I was like, oh yeah, cool. And then I talked to Mega 64 guys. I was like, oh
you think
yeah,
that-
I heard about this. Like, oh yeah, that's it down there.
does that convention center have any other events throughout the year that is anything close to Comic-Con?
I can't imagine.
No. They were like in my hotel. I'm watching the news, and that's everything that it's about. Like expanding the convention center, how it brings economy to San Diego. Like what they're going to do next year. Apparently, they're going to they may lose it to Vegas.
I hope they lose it to Vegas. That would be awesome if they lost it to Vegas.
I love
You know,
San Diego, but that one thing is a sticking point for me for that convention center.
Yeah,
If
it's such a pain
if they
in the
held
ass.
Comic-Con in Vegas, I don't know how that would be two awesomes on top of each other.
That'd be so much cool.
I
Man, people say like, oh, it's supposed to be a kids thing and it's supposed to be a young, but like there honestly weren't that many children there. Like it's all older adults and stuff.
Yeah.
So you put it in Vegas, you're going to lose maybe 0.5% of the people who go to it, which that's still 5,000 people or so. But more people are going to be able to show up to it because they've actually hit capacity at Comic-Con. I mean, they sell out every
yeah.
single year.
Yeah, they hit capacity.
And there's convention halls
I
in
also
Vegas
wonder,
that are like triple the size.
I
of
wonder
that.
how much of the formula goes into the fact that it's like they're so close to LA. It's a lot easier to bring talent down at the last second.
True.
But is Vegas closer to LA than San Diego? They're probably pretty damn close.
It's about a
San
2-hour
Diego's-
drive.
San Diego's closer, I think, but
closer.
I guess it's close.
But
Yeah.
either way, it's a short flight.
I guess so. Yeah.
Yeah.
I guess so.
So anyway, I think I would love to see it go to Vegas. I mean, something that big, it's just like at that point they've hit capacity. It's too much of a pain in
Well,
the
the
ass to
thing
do
is,
anything.
what is the biggest convention center in Vegas?
Probably the Vegas Convention Center,
I
the one right behind the
think it's-
Hilton. Or
Yeah,
next,
it's the one over there where the Hilton is.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, that is the Hilton Convention
that's
Center.
where
isn't
CES is held.
it? Right.
And have you ever been to CES?
Once, yeah.
It's
that's
It's massive.
It's
hard.
frightening how big it is.
Yeah.
I mean, like you walk in there and you're like, I can't see the back
I
of the
was
hall,
saying-
and then you realize there's another one on top of it. Like there's a second floor identical. It's just like
Well, the
what?
overflow is so bad that it's like I was staying at the Venetian or whatever, and it
Yeah.
took me 2 hours to get my elevator. No, it took me 2
Well,
hours to get my elevator.
that
up and running.
sucks.
Are there
Yeah.
any buildings that are so big that you have to curve around the Earth? Like,
Well, the biggest
where
building.
if you were to look, if
Welcome
you were to
back,
stand
Gavin.
on one end,
And
you
what
wouldn't be able to
time
see the
is it
floor
at
of
that
the
building?
I have an interesting thing about that. The Burj Dubai, which is the tallest building in the world.
Yes.
Yeah.
If apparently there have been special rules about Ramadan made because that building is so tall that sunset happens 4 minutes earlier on the ground than it does on the top floor. So,
Wow.
Well, it's a good point, 'cause-
So, if you're a Muslim who lives on like certain floors, sundown happens at different times for you. So you could theoretically be on the ground, watch sundown, go get in an elevator, get up to the top floor, and then watch sundown again.
I think I have to set different time zones for that
Jeez,
thing.
that's crazy.
GMT plus
what's the
0.4.
biggest building in the world?
That's the Burj Dubai.
Burj Dubai.
Well, that's the tallest, right?
Well,
What
what's
do
the
you mean,
difference?
You mean like biggest like
The
space
most amount of
wise?
volume, yeah.
Oh, I don't know.
I think
Jeez.
it's the Boeing. Isn't it the Boeing
one up in Seattle?
airplane factory?
Could be. I only know tallest. I don't
If
know.
only you had a laptop in front of you to ask.
It's only
if-
length that matters to me, not volume.
You can go to Bing, use Bing Social,
I
find
know
out.
that. I know that when the Twin Towers were up, they were closer together on the bottom than they were on the top.
Really?
Yeah, because they
That's-
were like.
Did you ever see that documentary, Man on a Wire?
That looks so fucking boring.
It's kind of boring, but it's a really, really interesting
What's it
story. It's a guy who back, I guess, in the 60s or 70s, him and some friends basically crashed the that's a terrible way to say it. They broke into the World Trade Center, went to the top while they were still building it.
I think this might be the 9th time you brought this up on the podcast.
Monty?
Maybe the 10th.
The name sounds familiar.
Okay.
but the way that you're going with the story doesn't.
Okay, so these guys go to the top of the World Trade Center,
and
the
then
two
they
two
tell
towers,
a story
And-
about a gun.
with a B.
And it
Oh,
doesn't
and
end.
they threw a cable across, and the one guy like tightrope walked between the two World Trade Center towers,
How
and
do
just
they
like
throw a cable across?
I don't
What,
know.
like, just
Haven't you seen the movies? They have like a
Harpoon
gun
gun.
with the,
fucking harpoon gun.
the hook on it.
But yeah, so they set up a tightrope between the two towers, and one guy walked back and forth. And like cops were there on the roof with them, and they were like, "Well, we can't do anything. Please come down." And like, so eventually, like after like an hour or so of him doing that, he walked across and got arrested. And that won the Academy Award for best documentary.
I know, and I
Oh,
still
yeah,
can't bring
yeah.
myself to watch it because it looks so fucking boring.
This story
Yeah.
does sound familiar, but I think it was
It's kind
like
of boring.
forever ago.
Yeah, it's kind of
Okay.
boring.
All right. Well,
But,
we need to wrap up because we have as a special segment this week. Bernie and I talked to Rocket,
Hey.
who is the creator of the DayZ mod for Arma 2.
Oh, I thought he was the monkey in Planet of the Apes that he gets the cookie.
No, that
different.
might also be Rocket.
Can I say something real quick before
Yeah.
we wrap up? Hey, so Friday is Achievement Hunter's 4-year anniversary.
Oh, congratulations!
Thank you very much. And as a celebration, we're going to be playing Burnout Paradise during the day. We're going to be streaming it live from the office, and then we're playing Halo Reach that night. So if you want to celebrate with us our 4-year anniversary of Achievement Hunter, feel free to check out achievementhunter.com.
I've been wanting to play some more Burnout Paradise for a while now.
That's
So
the
it's
last
a good
time.
excuse.
The last time I played it was a year ago, so
It's funny to go back and watch some of those early videos.
they're
isn't it?
so bad. They are
kinda
so
funny.
bad, dude. But anyway,
All right.
so thank you for 4 years of Achievement Hunter.
Yeah, and keep listening. We'll be talking to Rocket about DayZ and the future. Bye. Hey, everyone. We're super excited to have a couple people involved with the creation, or I guess the running of the popular DayZ mod for Arma 2 with us. We have Matt Lightfoot and Rocket from... do you guys work for Bohemia directly?
No, not at the moment. I was working for Bohemia, but not right now.
Okay. So we're both huge fans of the DayZ mod, and Bernie's the one who introduced it to me. Actually, I have no idea how you heard about it initially, Bernie.
Well, here's how I heard about it. So I was talking about on the podcast about different types of zombie games. I was talking a little bit about how Minecraft is essentially a zombie game where you build your shelter and then the sun goes down, out come the zombies and the monsters, and you have to survive all night. It's kind of changed a little bit, because I played the PC version, and it's once you get past that first night or 2 nights, then you're kind of safe, and it's just like you have to stay away from creepers and things. Anyway, guys, we got to talking, Gus, that one time about how it'd be great to have a zombie survival game where your whole goal is just to survive and scavenge and just stay alive as if it was a real zombie apocalypse. And after we talked about that, I think 3 or 4 months later, all of a sudden I started to get all these tweets. It was one at a time first, then it was 3 or 4 people saying, "Hey, you should really check out DayZ. You should really check out DayZ." And I was like, okay, I've enough people have said this that I got to check this out. So I got on Steam, downloaded Arma 2, and installed DayZ mod, and immediately jumped in and go, okay, this is exactly what we were hoping for. It's a zombie apocalypse simulator. So how long had you guys been working on it?
Well, basically, since about December, I guess. So that's when I started coding on it sort of properly. It was using some technology I'd previously developed for another mod for Arma 2. But yeah, only really seriously, I guess, since late December.
So what prompted you to choose to create these mods? Obviously it sounds like you've made more. What prompted you to create these mods in the Arma 2 engine?
Well, I guess I was quite familiar with it, and it's also a very versatile engine, so it is obviously quite a receptive both community, and the studio itself is quite receptive to the mods. And I had used Virtual Battlespace too with my work in the military, and that's based on the same engine.
So, I when I think of zombie survival games, I find in my head I wouldn't imagine there'd be much parallel between a military tactical very nitty gritty game, but it seems to work well. Are there any things that you wish you had that would make your life a lot any easier in creating the mod?
Yeah, well, I guess with the Arma engine as it currently stands, there's not a huge emphasis on inventory and things like that. So that's something that's very useful. It would make a big difference with it as well.
So you talk about inventory, and I think one of the big things about Arma is, or not about Arma, about DayZ, is when you spawn, you have nothing. I mean, I feel like there's obviously been changes made. Like you used to spawn with a gun, and now when you spawn, I think you get painkillers, a bandage, and a flashlight, and that's it. Was there a lot of fear on your part when you make a decision like that? Like, that's a really core decision to make people who used to spawn with a gun now spawn with no gun. How much worrying goes into that?
Yeah, well, I guess it's a very good point that you've raised. Like, I think there is a pretty big danger whenever those changes happen, and even small changes like changing the audibility of a weapon or something like that can have very, very big effects in the game itself. So with decisions like removing the weapon and things like that, those were pretty difficult decisions to make, particularly when the player numbers got up there. But they were an important part of the experiment, and the vast majority of players out there, they want to see these kinds of experiments and changes too, to see what works and what doesn't. And I guess really it's just a matter of making the change and then just seeing what happens. And that's the advantage, I guess, of being a mod rather than a game, is that you can make those decisions because you don't have to worry whether or not someone's going to buy your product.
Right, it's a good point. Hey, Rocket, I have to ask, your accent, I thought Bohemia is located where?
It's located in the Czech Republic.
In the Czech Republic, but you obviously don't have a Czech accent. Are you from New Zealand?
That's correct. I am from New Zealand.
Gus, how do you like my ability to spot New Zealand?
That's quite amazing.
I was going to commend you. That's that indicates you spent a bit too much time in Australia and New Zealand
to be able to tell the difference between the two accents. Mm-hmm. So that's really interesting. So, Rocket, where are you located, if I can ask?
At the moment, I'm located in Prague, in the Czech Republic.
And so did you immigrate from New Zealand to Prague?
Yeah, that's right. So I was working for the army at the time in New Zealand, and then I headed over to the Czech Republic on a contract to work, to do some contract work on Arma 3, which was one of the reasons that I did work quite heavily on the DayZ mod during sort of January, February and that, because I didn't speak the language. I was in a small town in the Czech Republic, so I had a lot of free time, so at nights and that, and it was also a good chance for me to become familiar with the engine while I was working on Arma 3. So I guess it was sort of a meeting of a bunch of different little things that really meant that I focused quite heavily on it while I was there.
And what's your background with why a zombie survival game? Like, why did you choose to make that mod?
Well, I've always been pretty interested in zombies and infections and things like that. And, my brother is a virologist, so we'd had lots of discussions, after watching, zombie movies and things like that.
Oh, no kidding. That's impressive, yeah.
And I think kind of everyone has. And you were talking about Minecraft. It was the same thing for me when I first picked up Minecraft. That was the thing that, for me, I really enjoyed, was that while I'm in this hostile world, I'm going to have to survive. And, for better for worse, Minecraft went in the really awesome direction of creativity. So, you build stuff and all that. And it went very heavy in that direction. But I really wanted to see more of that survival type stuff, and particularly really brutal, non-stylized world survival. So then I thought, okay, well, I'll see how it goes. It was also a good chance to do some performance testing on the Arma engine as well, because it tends to be, smaller group play that it usually had previously.
Yeah, and then, one of the crazy things we really enjoy about it, too, is it's a zombie survival game, but just the introduction of other survivors, which are the other human players, and the way the dynamic of the environment, it just turns the survivors into as big an obstacle as the zombies. Was that something you hoped for, or just kind of something that came about that was a little unexpected?
There was definitely hope for it. That freedom to play as who you are was really important, because that was another frustrating thing I found, was when it's kind of like in movies when, in horror films, when the characters do something and you're like, why did they do that? I was seeing a lot of that happening with when I was playing games. So I would find that my character is being forced to do something that didn't make sense to me, and I really didn't want that to exist in DayZ. So if you decide that the first thing you're going to do is go straight to Cherno, and you've got no weapon, you've just got a torch, then that's fine. The game lets you do that, even if that is a really silly move. And that adds kind of a gravity to the decisions you make. And to me, that felt like an important part of a zombie survival game was, the most important decisions are going to be the decisions you make. And the most important decisions are probably the ones you make in the first 5 minutes. So that adds a whole level of tension to the thinking that you have to make in the game.
It's funny you talk about other survival movies. When I would watch these before playing DayZ, when I would watch these movies, I would never understand why some survivors would go rogue in movies. Like, well, why wouldn't they just all work together? It seems so counterintuitive. But after playing a healthy amount of DayZ, I realized survivors are just problems. Like, it's weird. Now when I encounter anyone in the world, it's like, how am I going to get out of this problem? This person's going to invariably kill me. I need to take care of this right away.
Are you saying
that's a good point. I do think there is something that's sort of missing from DayZ, and that's what happens after you survive. So you've survived those first few days, but then there's not really a lot to do. And I think the only real challenging thing, as you say, is to kill other players, because the zombies aren't a huge threat. And look, no matter how much time we spent on AI routines and making the zombies more challenging, I don't think they're ever going to really compete with other players who, like you say, they develop their own decisions. There's deceit. There's, they learn, they don't learn, they do stupid things. So I think humans are always going to have that unpredictable nature in DayZ. But we need to provide the something else. And I think once the something else is there, I think that will again be sort of a watershed change for DayZ to give it more of a future rather than just being this traumatic sort of modelling the first few days of survival.
I think what you all do on the DayZ website right now is fantastic, where you post the average lifetime of a survivor. And the last time I looked, I believe it was sitting at about 38 minutes, which is pretty healthy if the first few times you play.
Oh my gosh.
I think the first time I played, I don't think I made it 5 minutes. So you're talking about, trying to have something else beyond the zombies and beyond the survivors. Are you picturing, down the road, as you put more work into it, like a proper, I don't want to say an end game, but maybe a story you're thinking about implementing into the game?
Well, I think there's no problem with calling it endgame. I've used that term myself. While it's not strictly true, people understand what it means. So there really needs to be the what are you going to do now that you've survived. So that first aspect of DayZ, landing on the beach, that's all about those initial crucial decisions you make. And then it sort of evolves through. That's the idea of the gameplay. So it'll evolve through to what do you want to do next in your game world. So we need to provide the ability for players to do a bunch of different things to support the different game styles. And one of those is going to obviously be, developing a group, developing, where that group wants to live. And one thing that I've talked about quite a bit is moving into underground structures, which I think, like EVE Online has its capital ships. I think underground structures could be the capital ships of the DayZ universe. And that would allow the more end-game stuff. And it would give people a reason to group together, because if they want to develop this properly, then they're probably going to need to team up.
So, basically, like a super fortified player housing or in defensible positions.
Yeah, exactly right. And I think we can really push that in all sorts of directions. We really want to stay away from a story as such. I think having a narrative, so a background to the world, I think that's really important, and I think that can be expanded a lot. So allow the players not only to explore the terrain, but also to explore what happened. But I think what happens after the game starts, that should be player controlled. So we'll provide the ability for the players to interact with their world and find out about it, but I think it really needs to be completely left up to the players to alter the world going forward. Now, I think that's where the real fun will come. It's you start to see it. You see people doing all these really exciting, cool things that I guess people term emergent gameplay, but I'm not even really entirely sure that sort of fits with it. But and I think that we just need to provide more tools for people to do that.
Yeah. Another thing, too, is that just the nature of the game, if you just take a zombie apocalypse, the way it would start, it's like, it'd be a series of events, but one day, did you ever read the book World War Z at all?
Yeah, I have. Yep.
Like there's that point which I buy into, which there's almost like a critical mass that happens where they hear about incidents, but then all of a sudden it just takes over, and you realize like this is the way things are. So in DayZ the mod, it's kind of like that, where you drop in on the beach and you're in this world and it's just go. There's really no tutorials. It's like you do have to figure everything out. You have to figure out that zombies can hear you from a distance. You have to figure out how to manage inventory. You have to do all that. But I'm assuming, as part of the development of a mod, are you going to build in tutorials for people to use?
I think that you've hit the nail on what I see as a very important part of it, and that's I like to think of it as trying to make it as intuitive as possible. Now, it's certainly not. There's a lot of it that's not intuitive at the moment, but having things like the hunger and the thirst, there's a lot of complex mechanics that go into the calculation of them. Complex, formulas and the way it works. But I think it's really important that we don't say this is how it works, or with audibility, like if you get within 50 meters, then someone will hear you. And that's adding a lot of subtleties to things so that the player has to rely on their own knowledge inside their head. So that's when you start thinking, okay, well, how, in fact, it's even subconscious, how would zombies react? And obviously they don't necessarily react as good as we'd want right at the moment, but there's a large part of that, I think, in how a player approaches it. And because the tutorial, I guess, is almost going on inside the player's head, so they're querying themselves, I think it really personalises the experience. So we want to expand on that more, make as little use of UI as possible, and make a lot more use of sight and sound in game, so that it becomes a more personal experience. And if we've designed something that's not working, then we need to go back and just keep working on that until it's intuitive.
That's an interesting thing what you said about, not telling someone explicitly that they can be heard 50 meters away, because it's almost like learning in real life. When you're a child, you're like, you're making noise and you don't know at what range it is someone can hear you anymore.
Right.
Which brings up another interesting thing that I love about DayZ is the fact that there's no longer any global chat, which really adds to, I feel like, the immersion aspect. And again, it goes back to what I talked about, like, you spawn with no gun, you can't communicate with people that aren't immediately next to you.
Right.
So it really, when you start, you really have that sense of isolation and, the unknown. So I don't know, I guess I could sit on the fence about your tutorial idea as to whether or not that's something that would be helpful.
No, I was just kind of curious, because it goes back to the philosophy of, the overall experience, but then the playability as well. It's like you don't want to alienate players, who jump in. You want them to have that first couple moments of fun early on, so it kind of hooks them in. But I get too, it's like this experience is what it is, and this is the kind of game where it's it comes in. It's essentially a super advanced simulator, and it's got permanent death, essentially. I mean, you lose your stuff. Your stuff is your character in a lot of ways, because you don't level up your character or anything like that. And so it's like you're asking for a big commitment from the players from the get-go, and when they get in, they should realize that.
Yeah. I'm currently in a state with my character where I'm scared to log in, because I've accumulated so much good stuff. Anytime I think about logging in, I'm like, okay, is it daylight? Yeah. Is it probably going to be? Is there going to be anyone friendly in the area? I don't know. So I'm really on the fence right now. I'm really in a weird position with a game which I've never experienced before.
Yeah, it's one of those things. One of the best examples I can use is I went out and I couldn't manage the inventory system when I first started, and that's basically from the Arma engine that it inherits this inventory system from there. But I went online and got the key maps of what do the controls do. And I remember there's a map button, and I hit the map button, and it's just black. It's just nothing. There's no explanation of you don't have a map or anything. It's just it's black. It's you got nothing.
That's one of the things I have right now that's keeping me from logging in is I have a map, and I'm so scared to lose the thing.
Do you have a map and a GPS, or just a map?
I have a map. No, I do not have a GPS. I have a watch though, which is awesome.
Yeah, I mean it's one of those things little moments in the game that are great. You constantly have these little moments of discovery. And then you also have things like you're running between towns, and then somebody blows by you in a car or on a bike or something like that, and you're like, "What just happened?" It's like it's like you realize somebody else is playing a totally different game than you are. It's like I'm just trying to get to this house, and figure out which house I can get into while avoiding the zombies, and somebody else is like living a good life. It looks like
eating caviar. So, what did you guys do to get the word out about DayZ? I'm curious to know what the origin or what Patient Zero for the mod was, because it seems like it's so huge now. You all have, I think, 500,000 people playing at the moment.
Well, they're up to 500,000 sales of Arma 2.
Oh, is that what it is?
Yeah,
Okay.
like if you read the reports, they're saying it's obviously the popularity of DayZ as it's growing is now driving sales of Arma 2. But yeah, Rocket, I'd be curious to hear about the path of the growth of this thing as well.
Yeah, I just looked up now because I have access to the live stats. So it last refreshed 20 minutes ago, and we got 657,000 players, unique players at the moment.
Wow, congratulations. That's
awesome. Yeah, it's great.
Yeah, it's pretty cool. I guess the way it started was initially there was just one server, and that was the development server run out of New Zealand, curious enough, one I rent there. And we had the mod up on that, and basically I'd sit down with Matt and the guys, and I'd do the development. Then I'd get them in to join, and I'd say, what do you think of this? And it would actually be kind of live development. So literally we'd try something out, and then I would ask their opinions, and we'd talk about it. We'd maybe even argue about it, and then I would re-upload the mod, and we'd just start the mission again. So that would sort of go on for 5 or so hours a night, and then I'd go away, develop a bit more, and we'd start again the next day. And what happened was we saw a lot of people who were trying to join the server, particularly if we accidentally forgot to put a password on it. So I thought we needed some more testers for capacity testing. So I added the download links. It was on Mediafire at the time. I added the download links to the server name. And suddenly people started joining. And it was just a few for a start. But then they would join, and then they would tell their friends about it. So they would go on FacePunch, NeoGAF, 4chan was quite big as well, and Reddit too, very early on. And people started talking about it, and they posted their stories, and it really just exploded from there. So it was never actually really announced. Belatedly, a few weeks afterwards, I made a forum post in the Bohemia forums, but yeah, it was basically just through adding the download links to the server name, one server name, and then it just sort of grew crazy from there.
So it was. You would say it was a viral zombie outbreak.
You did. You don't have to listen to him. Please don't. So, but I'm kind of curious, what is that time frame? So, what would you say was the moment when people first started joining spontaneously to then to where we are today? How long ago was that?
It was April the 13th, I think. So 3 months. So it was April the 13th. I remember this because it was Friday the 14th a few days ago. And, Friday the 13th a few days ago. And it was April the 13th, which was also a Friday the 13th, was the day we first started publicly opening the server.
Wow. That's crazy. Think how far it's come.
Yeah.
And so the version now is
1.715, I think.
Yeah. So there's been a lot of iterations between now and then.
Yeah, there has been a lot of, and I mean, I guess quite early on, that was a big part of the development, was very rapid iteration. It became quite untenable very quickly because it got very frustrating for users when we were iterating sometimes several times a day. Matt just flashed his fingers up to me before. It was 10, one time we did 10 iterations in a day, although that was maybe due to but so that was kind of stressful, and I guess that was the one, I wouldn't necessarily say negative, but one of the aspects of the explosion in popularity was we had to slow that development down quite significantly.
Yeah, we here at Rooster Teeth we rent 4 servers that we run to play DayZ on, and there are people, they're constantly full, and anytime, we have to roll a patch out or an update, we definitely hear from them like, oh god, you're taking the servers down. It's like, no, it's going to be good, y'all are going to enjoy this.
Yeah, doing the updates is difficult because they usually do cause a lot of problems, and it's easy in hindsight to see what those problems are. But one of the main issues we have is that a lot of these issues don't appear until you have a full server, and that server is connecting to the central server under load. So we're able to pick up most of the issues, the simple silly stuff, not necessarily all of them, but a lot of the issues that we end up experiencing are ones that happen under significant load. So that can be quite difficult to test for, and I guess that's, when people start posting this is an alpha on the forums and that, which I'm sure some people get tired of hearing, but yeah.
So, I mean, it's interesting you use the word alpha because it's a mod. So is there a plan for release? I don't know if you can talk about that now. Is there a plan to even potentially bust it out as its own title or anything like that?
Yeah, well, look, I've made no secret since very early on that I felt that it should be a standalone game, and I guess the awesome thing is that people have gone out and they've driven sales of Arma 2 to ridiculous heights, and that sent a really strong message, not just to Bohemia, but to any game developer out there that we want to see more of these kinds of games. So that's awesome, and from my perspective, I think it's definitely going to give the opportunity for DayZ to become a standalone game. There's no announcement, there's no project and sign off that's happened. So once that is, then obviously we'll let everyone know. But I think that it's a certainty that will happen at some stage very soon.
Well, it's great. I mean, I really hope that happens because, I mean, if you look at just another really popular infected or zombie game type or franchise, it's Left 4 Dead. And it started as, I believe, a Counter-Strike mod internally.
Right. Well, it was by Turtle Rock.
Right. And it was a game they played internally, and they just really enjoyed it. And then that evolved into Left 4 Dead, which is one of my favorite franchises of all time. Mm-hmm. And
You're exactly right. I mean, and I love Left 4 Dead. I played a lot when I was in Singapore for a year, and I just played it all the time.
Rocket's pretty well traveled.
I feel intimidated.
Lives in Singapore, lives in Prague. But, it's I mean, with all due respect, I mean, it's like, obviously, DayZ gets a lot of things from being based in the Arma 2 engine, but one of the comments we had made early on is that, Gus and I both went out and bought Arma 2, and we bought the DLC that's necessary to run DayZ. What is the DLC pack that we had to buy? Broken Arrow?
Operation Arrowhead.
Operation Arrowhead, thank you.
Yeah.
And we both bought that, and I don't think I've played yet a match of Arma 2.
I was thinking about that when I was driving in today when we were getting ready to do this podcast, is I thought, last night I was looking for a game to play because I couldn't play DayZ because it was night. And I thought, I've never fired up Arma 2 yet.
Yeah, it's interesting. So you and I should get in and play some Arma 2. Now, I played Operation Flashpoint, and I had played that previously.
Yes, I have.
But I hadn't played Arma 2. So, I mean, we're two people who definitely went out and bought Arma 2 based on the fact that this DayZ mod existed.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and look, I mean, I think, Arma 2 is obviously a fantastic game. I've devoted a significant portion of my life to developing mods for Flashpoint. It's not for everybody, and, it needs to be approached in a certain way. I think it really comes into its own when it's played in a serious group environment. I'm not sure if you're familiar with the group Shack-Tack, which they were actually quite supportive early on in DayZ's life with C.H. Kilroy's videos that he posted, which have become almost like I think they're up to some ridiculous YouTube count early on. So a lot of people found out about DayZ by that. And so I think with Arma 2, it really supports that structured group play very well, and that's I think where the majority of the gameplay comes from with it. And I think if there's one real point of difference between DayZ and maybe Arma 2 and other mods out there is that I think it provides a very good, robust mechanism for random people to play against each other, not necessarily cooperatively, and not also necessarily in a PvP way. So through that unstructured nature, I think it just manages to bring people together, and it sort of created the perfect storm with regard to Arma features.
Well, I can tell you that we're super excited about it, super excited about the future of the mod, and the idea that it could become a standalone game is great.
Yeah, I'd love to have in the future, I'd love to have a standalone installer, and like you said, some end game and like all of these features. I can't wait. It's super exciting to think about all of these things getting patched in.
Mod unto itself can be a barrier for new players to get in.
Well, it's interesting you say that, because I've been thinking about DayZ, the fact that it's a mod and the fact that the game can be so unforgiving to new players. It seems like it's really a gamer's game. Like, it's not the kind of game that would maybe necessarily have mass appeal. It's, definitely people who are really well versed in games, and people who are looking for that new experience. What other FPS do you spawn and you don't have a gun?
Right.
It's really, really interesting.
Yeah, and look, I think that like I said before, like it's an absolute certainty that it will make it into a standalone incarnation. And I mean, even if we did nothing with DayZ, I'm 100% positive as well that another studio would eventually pick up the concept. But I think actually very rapidly, DayZ as a mod could be taken on the ARM engine and built into something standalone. There's no reason why that couldn't happen. But I think it's also very important that DayZ continues as its experiment to the point it needs to, so that we get a really good game design out of it. Because if we finished up quite early and said, okay, we're finished with the mod, we'd miss out on that experimentation time where we can figure out, well, what works, what doesn't work, particularly around the player interactions, which are things that you can't just sit down and do a design analysis on. You really need to throw 500,000 people at it and say, well, what sticks and what doesn't. Yeah.
Can I ask you, do you feel a little bit of a race at this point, now that you've proven the model where you can have an apocalypse simulator? Do you feel a race against other people that you may be inspiring at this point?
I don't think so much. I think that the advantage of the position that DayZ's at now is that if it goes forward in the direction kind of that it is and it's been heading in now, I think that it'll be a very rapid thing. There's no reason why we couldn't see something significant by the end of the year. I think, because I've sat down and done this analysis myself, I think if you were going to go and take, say, start again from scratch, you're talking at least 2 years to do something serious. And so that's a big time. And I think it's also good for, if we could maybe even carve off a little niche, or maybe not so niche genre for survival games. So I think a little bit of competition there can only be a good thing.
Right, that's a good point. Yeah, and there's lots of different variations too. Like Epic just announced Fortnite, which seems like kind of a cuter. I don't know if you use that word, but it's kind of like more. It leans towards more like Minecraft than like more towards the Arma 2 like hyper realism. Things. So it's
I think that, personally, I think that casual gaming, and I don't mean that in a bad way, I mean like, iPhone apps and little games, and even Minecraft to an extent, has had a really, good focus. It's had a really good run over the last few years. And I think serious gaming, like sort of Arma, I think it's due for a little bit of attention. That's like you say about gamers' games, I think there's a little bit of a gap there, and I think that if DayZ proves anything, it's that. It's not necessarily about the zombies. They're an easy mechanism for people to understand, and people can relate to it, and it's topical, and it's interesting, and it reflects common fears. So I think that works with it, but I don't think it's necessarily just, zombies are popular, so DayZ's popular. I think it's about survival, and it's about people being able to be part of not just the development but the design, and I think that's going to be the key defining aspect of DayZ going forward, is that the world is left to the players to develop. What we've got to do in terms of the development team is actually provide the tools and the mechanisms for players to be able to do that. And I think that's where we'll really stand out against other people trying to do that.
Yeah, I think that all sounds awesome. Well, I want to thank you guys for taking the time to talk to us. I know, y'all are all over the world, so I don't want to keep y'all too much longer. But yeah, if for people who haven't tried it, you should definitely check it out. Go to dayzmod.com, and if you can purchase the game, you can purchase Arma 2 and the mod you need. They're on Steam, and download the mod, try it out. So thanks, guys. We really appreciate you joining us.
Awesome. Thanks very much.
Nice to meet you, Rocket.
See ya.
Bye now.